Welcome class to Alien Invasion, Piloting the Ship of your Python Crash Course textbook. So I'm going to use this video just to kind of step through what you're going to see in this second version of Alien Invasion. So first I'm going to start with what the results will be after we get through this section of piloting the ship. So I'm just going to go ahead and run. Okay, and again, your screen resolution will be different depending on what you've set up in your settings file, but you should still get the ship on the screen for sure, and then you should be able to take your ship to the right using your right arrow key and then over to the left and back. Okay, so that's what we're going for functionality in this particular section. So just stepping through what you're going to see in the code through these sections. So it says next we'll give the player the ability to move the ship right and left, and so there'll be different steps of how that functionality will work as we go through. So first we're going to respond to key presses, and we're going to look for key down events and we're going to look for key up events. We're going to use pygame.event.get to get that event information from what's going on with the keyboard. Okay, and we're going to be looking into a check events method. So here is the first iteration of the modification to the check events function. So you're going to be adding in an elif. So as I talked about in the first version of this Alien Invasion, vertical alignment is imperative. Okay, if you don't have vertical alignment, you're going to have lots of issues. So this is going to be adding in that key down. So when the user key downs the right key, okay, we're going to move the horizontal position of that ship, okay, 1 pixel at a time. Okay, so that's what's set up in here. When you see in the text, when you run Alien Invasion now, okay, so whenever you see these words, okay, that's your key to go ahead and actually go about testing. So then it says the ship should move to the right 1 pixel every time you press your right arrow key. Okay, then it says that's a start, but it's not the efficient way to control the ship, and then we'll move into allowing continuous movement. Okay, so then it goes into that particular section. Okay, talks about the modifications that you will go ahead and do. Okay, again, using the gray code as a way to insert the black code or look at a modification to some existing code. So here in the ship.py file, so you want to again look at the margins as to what file you're in. Okay, again, when you see snip, it is just letting you know that they did not print it in the book. It's not, the code needs to be removed, and never type the -- snip. Okay, so after this self.rec.mid bottom statement, okay, this is where we're going to go ahead and put in a flag. Okay, and we'll be talking about flags when we get into chapter 7. Okay, but it's really something just to set up as something true or false, and we'll modify it true or false based on a condition. Okay, so we'll set this up, and then we add a new function. Again, reminder that the vertical alignment of your function should be 1 tab in. Okay, and then your statement should be 1 tab until you hit another colon, then you're going to have that 1 tab in as well. Okay, so then we go back into check events. We added another elif. Okay, that's going to be working with the key up response. Okay, so in this case we're going to set a moving right to false. Okay, then it goes into run game. It looks at the ship file, so self.ship, this is referring to the ship.py file and the update function within that. Then it comes into when you run, let me come back here, when you run Alien Invasion, hold down the right key. The ship should move continuously to the right until you release the key. Okay, so that's your functionality that will happen next. Then it looks at both right and left. Okay, so again, some more updates to ship.py, so adding in an additional flag. Okay, and then we go into check events. We add in an elif for that, again making sure that vertical alignment shows up correctly. Key down event versus key up event, make sure that you're using case sensitivity correctly as well. Then we have another test. When you run Alien Invasion, you should be able to move the ship continuously to the right and left. Okay, if you hold down both the keys, the ship should stop moving. Okay, then we adjust some ship speeds. Okay, so coming into our settings file, adding in a ship speed variable or property, okay, and then back to ship, adding some things into INIT. Okay, so let me see here. Yep, so I think as you continue through it, you should not have much issues. I don't want to take up all the time in this video just stepping through it here. Here in the update function, make sure, okay, that when you code this, that this line right here says self.x and it does not say self.rect.x. Okay, if you've got rect.x, you're not going to have any ship movement. Okay, and then make sure that these two lines line up with your if statement. Okay, then refactoring. So we put all this information into check events, and now we're going to refactor the code just like we did in the first section when we were doing adding the ship. So we're going to create two functions, underscore check underscore key down underscore events, same thing with key up events. Okay, and then when we're keying down, we're going to call check key down events. So all that code that we saw on the previous pages, this code right here, you're just going to cut from this area and paste it into that check key down. Make sure you continue to type your doc strings. They're absolutely 100% required. That's official documentation for Python when it comes to your functions. Okay, so this is what your code should look like, from check events to check key down to check key up events. Make sure that these trues and the falses are in their correct spots. Okay, pressing Q to quit. So now we'll be able to it says in check key down events, we add a new block that ends the game when the player presses Q. So here in check key down events, we're adding something right here, okay, and check key down. So after this line, right, and that is if we hit Q on the keyboard, we're going to go ahead and exit out of the game. Okay, now optional, and this will be in your assignments page. This is optional, running the game in full screen mode. Okay, what I have done in my code is I put this code in, okay, but I commented it out. So if I want to run full screen mode, I can just uncomment it and then comment out my resolution type of code. Okay, but again, optional. You don't even need to code this. Okay, then it just goes through a quick recap, okay, of what went on in each of those three files. Okay, so jumping over, just looking at the code, make sure you have your name and date at the top of each file. And as we continue to build new files, make sure you don't forget to put your name and date at the top. Okay, so here is what I was just talking about with that screen resolution. So this is our current code. Okay, you can comment out these two lines and have these three lines going. Okay, or leave it like I have it, or not code that full screen option at all. Okay, so here's what run game should look like, and then here's that check events. Okay, calling key down and key up. Okay, here's key down, here's that sys exit in the key down, and then key up. So as you're working through this, you got to think about, well, how am I interacting with the game? Am I keying down? Am I keying up? And so as you're doing that and looking at the statements, try to make the connection between the two. Make sure your update screen looks like this. Okay, if you don't have the Pygame display.flip, okay, you're not going to get the most recently drawn screen visible in your game. Settings. Okay, so settings, here we have a ship speed. You're welcome to change these settings just like I did with my height. Okay, you can change your ship speed if you want. You can make it less, you can make it more. Okay, and then in ship.py, just coming through here, here's our two flags, okay, that we've added. And then here's that update function that I talked about with the vertical alignment and the self.x versus self.rect.x. Okay, so if you have any questions, please make sure that when you zip your file either to the Dropbox for correction or to me via email for debugging, that you are sending to me the images folder and then the files that are involved, so that I have everything that I need to work with in order to debug or correct your code. Okay, questions? Let me know. Thank you.